Guys, banter here from the Manly Seagulls.
Here's come through Luai.
The SuperCoach Experience Podcast is one of the best podcasts going around, boys.
They go to hole. Scores.
Keep doing what you're doing, and yeah, I just want to say, what a podcast. Go the Mighty Eagles.
Hey lads, Ewan Aiken here from the New Zealand Warriors. Hope you have a big year with the SuperCoach Experience Podcast.
He's got the ball to Sims. It's down to hole. It's gone in again. What a pass.
Hello and welcome to the SuperCoach Experience Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Savage, the coach of the Savage Turbos. We're coming off a hot English Tuesday, and I have the full panel here with me, lads. My co-host, I'll start off with the reigning champion, Tim Moody. How are you, Timmy?
Hey, bro. Yeah, good. I had a bit of a weird week, but that's fine. Weird weeks do special things to special people, so that's okay. I'm going to I made a mistake. I made a big mistake this week. A lot of sickos out there that enjoy the idea of me making a mistake. I did for me when I get a little bit cute with my
yes.
Yeah,
Rookie error, must I say?
basically what happened was the Villi Army bus left on Friday evening, and a few of the blokes didn't get on. Captaincy Stags didn't get on the bus. Tass Buddy jumped on, snuck on there, and decided he'd play the game for me. So yeah, it was pretty wild. Managed to score 1112, which is 1102, which is pretty pathetic compared to some of the other scores. Dropped back into the rankings to 8,285th. I've done some soul searching though, and I realised that we're about a quarter of the way in, and a lot of mistakes have been made. So it's time to start tightening the screws.
It's still pretty tight up the top, so a couple of moves and you're right up there again. We're also joined by our other co-host, Jake, the coach of Kiss My Behinds. How are you, Jake?
Yeah, I'm good. It was an all right week for me. I got 1160. Somehow I got great arrows. I didn't think it was going to be enough, but it somehow was up into 2,400th, I think. But yeah, as Tim said, mate, still plenty more time to make the right moves and hopefully get up a bit higher.
Bit of a weird week, hey? There was a lot of low 1,000s and a lot of 1,300s as well. We got someone else on the program that high 1,300s. We haven't had him on the podcast in about, I was looking today, I think it was 2017, and it was round 6 in 2017 we had him on last. Grant McCartney, the coach of the Pretenders, he's come into first place.
Yep.
Timmy's new arch nemesis. How are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty good, thanks, boys. Bit of a shock to the system when lockout closed. I thought I might have had a pretty good week when the Para boys didn't quite go as nuclear as I thought they were going to go, especially with Moses being on 45 in the first 15 minutes. And yes, yeah, I thought I might have a pretty good shot at jumping into the top 50, but yeah, it was a big shock to see first next to my name. So I noticed Tim's made a quality name change today for the podcast, and just to remind me who's the real boss around here. So I certainly know my place.
That's right. Welcome, Duke Grant.
So you're 111th last week, Captain Cleary this week, obviously. Massive jump, and I was pretty much saying it all weekend. You're a chance at top 10 at least, and you're pretty humble, just setting yourself for the worst case scenario. How did it feel? And do you feel like it's a little bit early?
Yeah, it's definitely too early to go
of course.
Any form of crowing. But, you know, I've played Supercoach for 14 or 15 years now. Like I remember sort of sitting in science in year 8 talking trades of, you know, Parker and Gallen and Robbie Farah and those sort of guys back in 2008. So it's been a long time coming. I suppose when luck runs your way, you got to take your opportunity, but it's definitely a long way to go. I think there's too much information out there now and too many good players to sit on your laurels. You've got to keep trying to make moves, and I think Tim did a great job of that last year with some really good pods that went his way, and I think that's the the sort of challenge I'll be throwing down to everyone else. Come catch me with those sort of pod moves.
So before this, where was your best rank? And seeing that number 1 today, is that like bittersweet considering you've been playing it for so long?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is bittersweet. My best rank overall season is 114th. I've finished in the top 1,000 at least 6 times, but I've never got in. I've only ever been inside the top 100 once before. I was 70 something for one round, but yeah, this year it's I've had 2 really, really big rounds. I came 217th for a round, and this round I came 70th, and that's put me in the top, at the top of the tree at the moment. But yeah, it is a bit bittersweet. But I suppose, you can teach an old dog new tricks. You can, I just would say to people out there, just keep playing. I love it. I love giving advice to people. I love talking about footy, talking about Supercoach. So I think I don't think there's ever a stage where you're not in the hunt. And I've been plenty back before and finished with a wet sail to get inside the top 1,000. So there's a long, long way to go yet, boys.
It's pretty funny because I find the players that have played for longer, 10, 15 years, they tend to fall off and they're stuck in their whole old habits, getting their starting with their Taumalolos. I think you started with Taumalolo this year. Yeah, but a lot of places, people get stuck in their old habits of getting players that really got them success at one point. What did you do to adapt? And this year, what has worked for you and what decisions have you made that's been crucial to getting you to this point?
I think the adapting part is probably around just making sure you're on top of the new scoring changes and also being on top of the NRL's rule changes. I mean, last year we saw, averages just skyrocket across the board, and there was a significant shift from the forwards to the backs. There's still some good forwards scoring, but it was more edge forwards, David Fafita, Papali'i, those guys doing the point scoring. I mean, back when I started, it was you get Parker and Gallen, and your hardest choice is who to captain each week because they're both going to get 90. The scoring system will change all the time, so you've just got to be on top of that stuff. I do a lot of looking at guys' base power, which, we always talk about base stats, but adding in things like tackle busts, offloads, goal kicking. If they're a goal kicker, that's basically base, especially if they're in a good side where it doesn't really matter who they verse, they're scoring points. I sort of factor a lot of those things in. What's worked well for me this year is I think I've just got my captains right. Last year I had a look and I was saying the same thing to myself this time last year. If I just got my captains right, and I don't mean my highest scorer every week, I mean picking the sensible option. I got Pappenhausen's 190 when I looked at the teams that week and just thought, that's where one of the big scores was. And he's the goal kicker in that side. So I literally just went with him over Munster because he kicks. And I've picked Hines a couple of times. I got Hines early this year. I jumped on him really early, like round 2 or 3. As soon as I watched him play round 1, I wanted him. He surprised me how well sort of he'd adapted to the 7 in the off season. He kicked really well. He just looked like he was in absolutely everything. And then I think, I got Cleary early last week purely because I thought he was the best captaincy option for the round. Not owning Moses. So I think it's like, it's a lot of it is luck, but a little bit of it has been good decisions around captaincy. And yeah, as I said, last year I was at round 7. I was looking at if I'd captained who I was tossing up between if I'd taken the other option, I would have been in the top 100 at that point as well. So I think captaincy this year has been massive because there's only been 2 or 3 of the big guns score really well each round. And if you jag those, you just jump up the rankings so quickly.
All right, before we move on to trade talk and hot topics for the week, I'm just going to remove myself and Jake, and you and Tim can have a chat. He's very competitive, and let's see if he wants to give you some competitive fighting words.
How's it going,
What do you
brother?
got for me, Timmy?
I don't know what's going on here. It's pretty special. So, we're having a one-on-one. All right. So just so all right. I know which angle he wants me to go down. So I was just wondering, Grant, would you be interested in swapping sides?
No, I can't. I'd like to.
You could coach the Villy Army. You could coach the Villy Army if you wanted.
Hey, I'm not saying I wouldn't like a number 1 finish in my history because I think that's probably a much cooler achievement. But right
You've
now,
already
I'd
achieved
like
so
to
much
keep
up
going.
until now. You're up. After week 6, you're in first. It's gold. Why don't you give yourself the challenge of taking on my side and see
Make it
if you
harder,
can
you
bring
reckon?
them up? Yeah, you know what I mean. Why not challenge yourself?
I don't know if you're around it
Through the
last
team.
year, but we got on a similar time this time last year. We got on Henry, who was coming first, and Timmy made this same proposal, and Timmy ended up winning it. So it was just so ironic because later in the season, Henry was like, "Can we swap teams?"
It's a good offer. I'll turn it down at the moment, but if it comes back to bite me and you win twice in a row, Timmy, then I think everyone will call you the king of Supercoach.
No worries. I'll be asking for the Messiah, but I'll accept the king.
Yeah, well, Josh Camplin here says Jake is the Messiah of Supercoach. So let's go over to Jake. Jake's had a pretty good week. He's gone up to 2,400. What are you going to do this week? What are you looking at trades wise? The team list, they've been pretty big.
I don't know. I think I'm bringing in Nathan Cleary. That'll be Dylan Brown. I don't really want to get rid of him, but when you think about it, Nathan Cleary is always going to be, 20, 30 points averaging higher than Dylan Brown is. And I think Dylan Brown's probably hit his peak. It's just over 700K. And the way Nathan played last week, I think he had 3 try assists, didn't even have a try, and he somehow has got 150. So I wanted him at the start of the year if he was playing, and I guess the fact that he didn't play sort of has helped a lot of teams. I think I'm bringing him in. And as for my other one, I don't know. I need to make a little bit more cash just to sort of fund that. I don't want to do it, but I think I have to go Schneider to Blake Taff. I'm not really sold on Taff, but I think he's going to make enough money to, I guess, when you look at it, I think Snyder's probably only going to make maybe another 70, 80K. I think he might top out at around 450. I know he plays that buy, but I think getting rid of Snyder to Taff gives you about 170K plus the money that Taff's then going to make, which I think he probably gets about 400K before Latrell comes back in maybe around Origin time. So I think that's probably going to be my way. I don't want to do it. I prefer to get rid of Ilias, but he's stuck at me 5'8", so I can't really do that.
Have you considered a Christian Tupelotu into your side this week? It looks like he's the cheapie of the week. He was named on the wing.
Savs, this is just you wanting to bring up Christian Tupelotu to brag about how you were correct last week, isn't it?
No, it's not, because I feel like I probably went a bit early. Scored 27, didn't really do much, but I'm seeing a lot of with Manly. Grant, you would have watched this game. There was lots of overlaps on that left side, but it just never got out to him because the defense on the inside was just so terrible. They didn't need to throw that extra pass. So I'm very hopeful on Tupelotu, and I think he's a great cheapie this week. Timmy, what are your trades this week, and what are you looking at in the next coming weeks?
It's pretty crazy times. I think I'm looking at trying to get Cleary in as well this week. I'm tempted to sort of just hold off because a part of me feels like I'm a little bit pulling my side apart, but I'm being really, really strict on the way I would get Cleary. I'm not getting rid of any guns, like a Fafita, like a Payne Haas. I'm not selling Teddy. I'm not selling Hines. So I'm going to have to, I think I'm going to have to sell my man Kickout. I have to start getting serious about this, and I'm going to have to sell him. I think that's the way I'm going to do get Cleary in. But yeah, it's going to be at the cost of probably Josh King as well. I think I might have to downgrade Josh King as well.
Yeah, Josh King is a very interesting one, and we'll talk about him shortly. Grant, we've had...
But I am tempted to get Cody Walker this week instead of Nathan Cleary and double down.
It's very tempting, isn't it? Grant, what are your trades? We've before we go on to them, we've had the debate on Teddy the last few weeks. I think did you sell Teddy last week for Cleary?
Yeah, that's how I got Cleary. And I would have sold in the week before for Cleary if Cooler had have been picked
named that week.
But yeah, but I had to hold back a week.
So what are your initial thoughts, or what are your thoughts on Teddy as an option going forward? I feel like had it not been for Cleary, I may have not done it, but I don't think he's a clear-cut sell. What's your opinion?
Yeah, definitely not a sell for mine, or not a must sell for mine. It's just that the way I see it, your 4 slots between fullback and halfback throughout the year are going to end up being Turbo and Pap, I think, at fullback, and Hines and Cleary in the halves. Then guys like Moses and Teddy, it's fine to have them. I think they're definitely keepers, and a spot, you can have a spot for them. It's just that the faster you get to those top 4 guys, I think the better. I'm not saying you have to sell Teddy at this point. He's got the draw. The Roosters look awful, but that can change in 1 or 2 games. They shift the halves, swap the halves sides or something like that, and all of a sudden it clicks and Teddy's back to what we know he can do, scoring 80s and 90s every week.
Very good. And yeah, I agree. At the end of the year, it's going to be them 4, unless injury occurs, which is very likely. Anyway, what are you looking at this week? I guess you don't have to give it away, but you're in a pretty prestigious position. But what are you thinking?
That's all right, mate. I'm happy to talk trades. As I said, it's a long way from the final.
Exactly.
Not a little bit yet. I might be a little bit more cagey at that point. But this week, what I've looked at doing is, by the way, Timmy, I'm a massive fan of Cody Walker. I think with the draw they've got and the price he's heading to, I would love to get to him as soon as possible. My issue with getting him at the moment is that Tamari Martin's just popped up on team lists, and he's available. The best spot to get him will be from Ilias. So I think that might be a good pod if you lean that way. But I'm looking at David Fafita and Isaiah Papali'i, one of those. I don't have either of them. Luckily, I've got Tamalolo performing as my second front rower after Haas, so I'm not too concerned. I'm not forced into getting Papali'i or anything. I think David Fafita, his base power looks really, really good. I think that's where I'll probably end up going. I'm also going to go Schneider to Taff. I agree with Jake. I don't think it's a must, but the most important thing for me is you get an extra 170K, 160, 170K out of the trade now, and I think they'll both make around the same dollars moving forward. I suppose we got to remember as well that Fogarty will come back for Schneider at some point. That's probably going to happen, even though Schneider looks like a quality NRL player. And to fund that, I need to probably look at getting rid of some combination of Kurt Mann, Bo Firma. I want to hold Coates. I think he's got a really good 3-week draw here for the Storm. But yeah, besides that, I think those are the guys I've got to get rid of. I just don't have a cheapie to go to. So your boy Tuapolotu might be might be in my sights, as much as I'd hate to get him.
I feel like people just hate to get him because I talked him up so much and he was such a bad option, but it's turned out to be okay, I guess. Well, I like your trades, and I feel like I'm looking at bringing in Fafita myself. Just the upgrades he's getting upgraded 20 points on top of the hundreds he's already scoring. So I feel like that's a lot of offloads and tackle busts being updated. So you want players like that in your side that can have that base and base attack kind of floor. And then the attacking stats are always a plus. With a player like him, you can at least expect a 60 to 70 most weeks, and then with a try, 100 plus. And yeah, I'm doing Schneider to Taff, and I'm possibly thinking, I'm not sure. What are your thoughts, Timmy, on Josh King this week? So he's been getting the minutes, but has he peaked?
Oh, he's probably around the mark. I don't think we'll get too much more value out of him. You might get him a bit above 5 or something like that. But I think I just don't have anyone I'm really willing to sell in my side. So I feel like he's someone I'm happy to part ways with. He's not lighting the world up. You know what I mean? He's been impressive and he's done a good job for the side. But yeah, I think it's time to go for my side just so I can free that cash up. I don't know who to though. I have to do a lot of work to work out who I'm downgrading Kikau and King to. They're going to be after almost pretty much bottom dollar guys, or 230K each, I think, about roughly. So it's going to be a bit rough.
I saw you nodding your head, Jake. You haven't played him most weeks, and you played him this week, obviously.
Yeah, thanks, Saf.
Are you considering selling him this week?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of considering selling him this week. It would cost me a boost, and I don't really know who to go to. I'm thinking Lukey, but I'm worried he may be a trap. He looked so good last week. He's actually looked good all season when they bring him on, but he hasn't played minutes. But he played 8 last week. Got 90 with a try, so I mean, take that off, he's going to get 50 at least. He's a lot more busier than Nanai as well, and doesn't give away 4 penalties in one half of football either. And I think minus something break even, so he's going to make a bit of cash. But just worried about that, him sort of maybe being a trap and Gilbert or someone coming on and playing edge as well. So that one I'll toss up all week. But Saz, you kind of didn't mention how you went last week or your rank. You didn't mention it at all, and I thought you were going to gloat about it. But so I'm going to throw to you. How did you go last week, and what is your rank?
I mean, I'll talk about it, all right? I scored 1303, and I'm in at 460, but the job's not done yet. As Jackson Hastings would say, there's still next week's game. By the way, how good was that game? It's a great game.
Yeah.
Good
Great
finish.
game.
Unless you're a Para fan.
Yeah, not good.
But I don't care.
Still, though, boys, it's a great advertisement for footy when a bottom side actually has a crack, and like, not that the Tigers threw the ball around, but they earned the right to try and play some attacking footy, and a lot of the bottom sides just don't. They just don't even get in the arm wrestle at the moment. They're not even interested in playing those top sides. So it was just a great advertisement for footy and a good thing for the bottom sides to aim up to, I think.
Well, that's been the Tigers for the last 5 weeks, and as soon as they brought that energy, that's all they needed, really. Like they've got the cattle, they just needed the energy, and Jackson Hastings brought that. I guess we'll talk about him in the hot topics, but yeah, I'm at 460th. I'm pretty happy with my side, but no Taumalolo, no Papali, no Fafita. I think I've definitely got to prioritize that, but I really think going forward, the key to success is stacking the halves and stacking the fullbacks. So I really feel like going Schneider to Taff, I'm a bit hesitant on this because that means, I know a lot of people are saying don't do Teddy to Taff because that means your second fullback is Taff. Well, you can swap Taff and Hines. So effectively, your second fullback is Taff if you get Taff in at halfback, if that makes sense. So I like how him and Hines can swap, but maybe that means I prioritize getting in a 5'8" this week because that's what I think the way going forward will help. And, you know, I've looked at Cody Walker, but I'm just not convinced. I feel like he's going to burn me. And I've kind of got the same feeling with Cody Walker as I do with Tedesco. So, yeah, I guess that's one to think about during the week. But let's move on to the hot topics.
Hi, I'm Tim McClure.
Hi,
Today
I'm
on Hot Topics.
Yeah, so I figured out how to use my Rodecaster, so I added all the sounds that I could, and that is the new Hot Topic sound. Hot Topics for the week. So Taff and Tedesco, Taff and Cleary are the most traded in this week. Grant, Cleary, is he a priority this week playing Canberra Raiders on Sunday, a blue bet? Is he a priority this week? And would you sell a Tedesco? Would you sell a Pappenhausen or a Hines if that's your only way to him?
I would not sell Hines. I would not sell Pap unless that ankle injury is way worse than we thought, 3-4 weeks or something like that. But I think Teddy, it is okay to sell to him, and absolutely I would be prioritising him. I think I understand why people don't want to rip their teams apart. If they've got other captaincy options, that's fine. But I'm captaining him this week, I'm pretty certain. And if I didn't own him, I would be trying to find a way to get to him as quick as possible. So I can see why Taff and Cleary are the flavour of the month, especially with Turbo out. Cleary's just got that little bit more value, I think, as such a high floor captaincy option.
Well, yeah, that's the reason I got in Cleary last week, because he was the standout, the captain option for the week. And I feel like you've got to have these players. You can't just have a team full of mid-rangers where none of them are really captain worthy, because the captain choices are obviously which has got you to where you are. Timmy, as a non-Cleary owner, what's your stance on him? Because I feel like you weren't too disheartened by him going big on the weekend. You're pretty content because he wasn't
prepared for it. Yeah, I knew it was going to happen. I thought he'd get at least 100. I said I'd be, if he got 200, I would have been upset. Anything below that, I would have been fine with. So that's fine. I expected it. I just think it's I think the SuperCoach community is crazy how they react to last week. like just all the time. Rewind this to a week ago. People are like, oh, you can't get Cleary. He's got to drop. He's got to drop.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got to drop. He drops about 20K or something. And then, he puts out a 150 and people are like, I've got to have him now. I've got to have him. I've got to have him. And I'm going to sell Tedesco to do it. I don't know. For me, I don't think Tedesco's the guy to sell. I think the more I think about holding him, I feel like that's more upper edge and I like it. But, it feels like a bit of a real gamble because, look, he's scoring, 60s, 80s the week before, a couple of weeks ago when it looked 3 weeks ago, I think it was, and he sort of looked good then. So it seems like it's a real stretch for him to get that 150. It's like he's going to have to set up at least, that 2 tries and cross over for one himself. And he just seems so far away from that at the moment. And I don't think it's him. I really think it's, I hate to point fingers, but I think it's like Kiri. I don't really like him what he's offering at the moment. I reckon I could beat him in an arm wrestle too.
But I agree with Tim there. I think I even put Sammy Walker. I don't think Sam Walker and Tedesco sort of fit each other's play. And Luke Keary, I said to a few of my mates, I said Luke Keary looks like reserve grade at the moment. He's so far off, and I guess we can put that down to the to the knee injury. His ACL still coming back.
But his passes aren't hitting the mark. You know what I mean? You don't pass with your knees.
Yeah, but it's true. But it's still the I guess the confidence of being back in the rhythm of rugby league. He just seems a bit off. So, but I think you're right there, Timmy. It's the Roosters that are causing Teddy to be so poor this year so far.
The only thing I'll add to that, Jake, I think is I don't understand why Robbo's swapped the halves sides. Like Keary he finished the year before, started last year on absolute fire before his knee. He was on the left side. He looked $1 million. Teddy prefers to attack the left, and that would then allow them to have Sam Walker on the right, playing more of his own game, where it's his side to call. I think the other thing is they swapped both the back rowers as well because Crichton was a left edge back rower, and I think
sides all over. It's annoying.
Yeah, it is, and I think if you leave Crichton on the right and allow him to protect Sam Walker on that right side and let them do their own thing over there with Manu, it's a great attacking edge. There's a lot of they can't stop everyone over there, and then bring Keary back over to partner Teddy sweeping on the left. I think that's worked for every other side in the comp, and I don't understand why the Roosters have gone away from it. Just doesn't make sense.
One thing I'll say about the Roosters, I've been listening to Robbo talk a fair bit, and it seems like he's pretty sweet with everything at the moment. He's happy for it to go along. They sort of like to build their football and get to a certain point where they're playing peak by the end of the year, and it's kind of just like, I don't know. It's kind of like he's happy for them to be working things out, but I feel like they should be they're just so elite on paper that they should be killing sides, and they're not doing it, and it's really frustrating because
is that a bad sign that he's content with where they're at?
I don't think so.
He's not going to pick it up very soon.
No, it's annoying for us, but I think for him, it's kind of like he's building, you know what I mean? I think he doesn't want to be too, I don't know. I can't really articulate it really well. I'm trying to get into his head, but it's not working.
I think this really means that the back end of the season is going to be huge for them. So their run gets a bit harder though. So I feel like they know that their draw was pretty shit. The first 10 rounds, this is where I was trying to get to, I think, is that their first kind of 10 rounds were pretty shit out. It's like their easy run. So they guys, work some bits out, get your little, get that sorted together. Then by the end, we've got the good teams, we've got to be clicking by then. So I don't know what that means exactly, but it just seems like they're just working at a building progressively slowly. It's not like a race. They're not racing to try be the top dogs right now. They're happy with
how late's too late, boys. How late is too late? I've watched Melbourne for many, many years and the Panthers the last few years, and I think the Eels have picked it up as well. Like, you've got to come out, get on top early. That way, when you get to Origin, you can rest guys in the back end of the season. You can rest guys, and you can manage injuries and things like that. I mean, the Panthers did it beautifully with Cleary's shoulder last year. They managed him perfectly into the finals. Pappenhausen's concussion stuff last year, the same. Like, I understand that those sides might have a bit more depth, especially in key positions, but I think you've got to be careful how late you leave that run. Don't get me wrong, I'm fully aware that you don't win comps in round 7, round 8, but I just think that's a great idea from Robbo, but you have to click at some point. And so far, they don't look close.
Yeah, you're right, because really they've got to have it together by now. So going into Origin, they can take that hit. I mean, they've probably won enough to glide through the season and be okay, but they're putting themselves in a bit of an awkward spot where they're not going to be able to, they're going to not struggle to make the top 4, but they're going to have to work hard for it later in the season. And
I'll be right, man. They're coming 5th. They're on 4 competition points. They're sweet as. They're not.
Yeah, but you know, like Robbo's he's so casual and relaxed about it, but maybe is that just a brave front, and they're actually struggling with no Cordner, no Friend, like no Morris, like all them old heads are so underrated in how the Roosters have performed and done well in the past.
Yeah.
Look, I'm going to believe in him. I reckon it's going to be Penrith and Roosters still in the grand final. I thought it was now I think it's Melbourne because they're sort of better, but I still reckon Roosters will come good. I think they're going to be right. So Robbo seems like he's the best coach to me. I was just watching him get interviewed on 360 once they asked that whole bunch of coaches I think we had this chat, Savs, whether you'd rather play your worst game of footy but get the win or play your best game of footy and have lost. And every coach said, I'd rather get the 2 points. But Robbo said, I'd be happy to lose but have played our best footy. He goes, that, there's not much to change if you're playing your best footy. You can always fix it. And the way he said that, and Madge was the only other one that said that to Maguire. So all the rest of them were wanting the 2 points, and Madge and Robbo said they want to play their best footy. But that's weird because the Roosters aren't actually doing that right now.
Yeah, they're not playing their best footy and they're getting the 2 points. So I feel like they're in a good position regardless. Jake, next hot topic, Captaincy Stags. He's got back-to-back tons after Bulk People sold him 2 weeks ago. If you're a non-owner and you owned him 2 weeks ago, do you bite the bullet and get him back in, or do you sit back? On this one, I'm pretty torn because you don't want to get back a player that could burn you again. He gets 35s, but he has a negative break even, 2 tons in his average. It could be at least a cash grab.
I mean, I only see it as that, a cash grab. I mean, he was versing poor sides at the start of the season. He was scoring 30. Suddenly he versus 2 of the best sides and scores tons. He versus Bulldogs this week. There's a good chance he goes back and scores 30. So I mean, if you want to sort of burn away trades, I think you can bring him in. But we've got enough centre wings kind of already making cash that I don't really think you need to be bringing Stags back in, especially if you already traded him out. I mean, he could probably get to maybe 600, probably make another 100K, depending how this week's goes. But no, I don't think you'd be rushing to bring him back in. But it looks like people are, though, by the looks of the trading patterns.
Would you get him back in, Grant?
I don't think I would, but I can see why people would be tempted. There's the theory of, someone turning a corner, having a bit of a form slump, or him sort of, changing his attitude to how he's playing the game. I think he's gone looking for the ball a little bit more. I think they've gone looking to give him the ball a bit more. And part of that might have been the sort of halves shuffle they had going on the first 3 or 4 weeks. A-Ray's back full time now on that right side. That's where he's always played. That's his prime spot. And one thing Reynolds does really well is get deep into the line and play out the back. And that suits a centre who wants early ball with space. So I can see why people are keen on him. I think there's other better options in the centre wing. And on that topic, Savs, I think, unlike you, I think I'd add centres into that halves and fullback sort of must-have area. And the way Damien Cook's playing, you almost want him as well. I know it's a lot of people to want, but there's so many good buys at the moment. I think I don't think Stags is a must-have at the moment. But if you're going to get him in as a cash grab, you've just got to be prepared to burn 2 trades to get him back out in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
The centers
if you started with him, sold him, and then you're getting him in, and then you're getting him back. Oh, that's just.
Well, I'm doing that with David. I'm doing that with David Fafita, Timmy, to be honest. And
He's a different player, though. Different player. I still think that's crazy still. But I guess sometimes you've got to move the pieces around throughout the year to make things work. So I don't mind
exactly what my theory was. And if part of your theory was to get rid of Staggs 2 weeks ago, and you've found a way that your team balance needs a centre now, then I guess by all means do it. It's just that I look at Campbell Graham with his draw, Daniel Tupou, even though we just talked about the Roosters, and someone like Zach Lomax.
I even like Lomax, yeah. Like, I reckon those three gun sort of centre guys.
I'm even looking at Sully, Timmy, to be honest. I'm even casting an eye over Sully.
What price is he at now? Because he's scoring well.
Yeah, 4.11. And he only got his first attacking stats on the weekend for the season, and he's averaging around 50, but it's almost all been in base power. He's barely even had a line. I don't think he had a line break until this week, so he's definitely worth a look. But I'd even look at him maybe before Staggs, simply because he's 100k cheaper, and it would help people get Cleary.
I just feel like when players average, if you sold Staggs and you've got his 30s, and then you sold him, lost the hundreds, and then you buy him and you get the 30s and 30s again, that is like, sign me up. I need to go speak to the counselor. I'd need to be deep in a chair, laying down for hours talking about it. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend anyone that stressed, because I know that for me, that'd do my head in. But if someone wants to take that gamble on, take it on, but just know it comes with a lot of stress after the weekend when it doesn't pan out.
All right. Moving on to the resurgence of the old lads like Taumalolo, Damien Cook, even Nathan Cleary to some extent. Nathan Cleary's current gun, but the resurgence of the classics of Supercoach. Jake, what ones are you eyeing off? There's Taumalolo, there's Damien Cook, who are absolutely killing it. Do you think a double hooker theory is a viable option now, and is getting Taumalolo in for Josh King a viable option as well?
Yeah, I definitely think Lolo in for Josh King, especially with Lolo. I got Lolo last week because he had that dual flexibility. I mean, if he's going to keep playing 70 minutes, he's going to be scoring 80 points every week. So definitely for him. The Damien Cook one, Harry Grant, I still think is the best hooker option. And it's just whether you want to have a reserve spot on a hooker or you want to throw it somewhere else. You're probably going to have one fullback and probably one on halfback. And then if you want to throw one on hooker as well, then I guess that is the thing. Is I think Randall he scored 67 just in pure play. I think he had a line break assist.
And he's playing 80 minutes as well.
He's been playing 80, but Clune back and Phoenix Cross on the bench, so he might not play 80. But he's still got a bit of money to make. I saw your side, Grant. You had Tom Starling, he's playing 80 now, so I wouldn't be kind of moving him on to Cook, because I mean they're sort of pumping out the same score anyway. So I think Grant, and you choose your second hooker. I don't think Cook's that much of a go. I don't know. What do you think, Grant? You're the top dog.
I would like to have Damien Cook in there, but I'm not uncomfortable with what you've said there. I think it makes sense. Look, you're right. The thing with team balance is, with 4 slots in your centers, 3 in your back row, you can't just have guns in the one spot positions in your hooker, your halves, and your fullback. It's fine to have them, and have great reserves. But if you're playing, Joseph Suaalii this week, or you're tossing up whichever cheapie you have to play in your centers, and you've still got sort of, Josh King has to play for you in your front row or something like that this week, I'd be dealing with that problem first, because the gap between playing Cook and King versus playing a gun front rower and picking your 17th best player from somewhere else on your bench you're probably going to cover that comfortably anyway. I mean, you can get Papali'i and Fafita for a similar price to Cook at the moment, and those guys playing more difficult to cover positions. So I just think that you've got to be smart with where you spend your money. That doesn't mean you have to throw it, spread it around everywhere. I think there's certain spots you can get multiple 80 average players in. It's just that I don't know if hooker is as much of a priority as those other spots, and I wouldn't be chasing my tail there, that's for sure.
Timmy, moving on to Ronaldo Mulitalo has absolutely started the season on fire at 630,000 at the moment. Grant did say before he feels like the centre wing area is somewhere where, we need to consider getting guns in. Is he someone you would consider? Because it's kind of like, I like to compare things with things of the seasons past. So Talakai for me this year was very Papali'i last year, very Nico Hines last year. With Mulitalo, I really feel like it's the Ruben Garrick vibe from last year where, people kind of stung from him in the past because he hasn't quite performed for them. And he's come out this season and in a gun shark side who are going to score points, he's going to be on the end of that. What are your thoughts on him? Just
at the price now, I couldn't be finding a way to bring in 600 and something or other K guy on the wing. Yeah, I did for the Sharks. Garrick was a different thing, you know what I mean? He was on the back of Turbo's brilliance. Yep. So, you can't really compare those two. I don't think that's comparable at all.
But, Hines could legit be this year's Daily M medal winner. Outside of Talakai.
Yeah, but he's not going to do. He's not doing turbos. You know what I mean? Like he's just playing game footy. Like he's playing halfback. He's playing well, but he's not doing turbos. Yeah. Turbo had a cape on last year, pretty much all year. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think so, man. It's crazy. It's pretty wild. I don't see him putting. Like if he was going to put out hundreds every week, you'd be getting him. You'd have to get him, wouldn't you? But I don't think it's really real.
And that's what he's done in the last few weeks. Now they've got some momentum. Jake, what are your thoughts on Mulitalo?
He's been fantastic. Him and Talakai had a great combo on the left, but I wouldn't be paying 630K for him. He's had, I was just looking at it before, he's had like 10 offloads in the last 10 line breaks in the last 3 weeks. I don't know if anyone can keep that up.
Yeah.
If he doesn't score a try or doesn't get anything, he's going to get you 15 points. He doesn't have the highest sort of floor. So, I think, if you got him 2 weeks ago, that was the time to get him or even Sione Katoa. I know he didn't play last week, but they've both been on tear. 2 weeks ago was the time to get him when the Sharks, you saw something in the Sharks attack, but now both at 600K. I'll be looking elsewhere. You Campbell Graham, Zach Lomax.
Try to find the next guy that's going to be.
Exactly right. 100K cheaper.
Is it Alex Johnson, who's like much cheaper? Is it it could be like one of the Titans bloody wingers.
Greg Marju.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. I just feel like there's going to be another winger that we can jump on. Maybe.
All right. We just got 2 more before we move on. Grant, I'll go to you. There's Talakai and Jackson Hastings. So Talakai is the 6th most traded in this week. Jackson Hastings at number 9. He could be a nice little just a 80K upgrade from Lachlan Ilias.
Yep, he looked really good on the weekend. I would be hesitant to say that Luke Brooks is going to keep the kicking for much longer. The way he kicks them off the tee is nearly as bad as Sam Walker was last year. It's pretty awful striking. Hastings, I thought, kicked reasonably well. And
that one of them almost bang straight over was so good.
More importantly than his game, although it was amazing. And that field goal was something else. We've seen some good ones from Latrell and Hayne over the years, but that was just right up there, special as well. But I think I read a couple of articles last week where in the news where basically Hastings came out in defense of both Maguire and Brooks and said, nice Tim, came out and said, I was an idiot. And same as Talakai, who also got shafted from the Bunnies when he was younger and got kicked out of footy basically because no one wanted him. Basically worked out that they were the problem. There was a common denominator in all the things that were happening, and it was them. And they went away, Hastings to Super League, obviously, and they've come back much more mature players. And last week he came out in the media multiple times and defended Brooks, defended Maguire, and basically put all the pressure on himself the week before playing one of the form sides of the competition, and then went out there and just did it, did a job. that's a lot bigger than sort of SuperCoach or anything. But
what was
awesome
awesome too, bro, I really like, Grant, how he at the end of the game sort of made it about Brooksy too. Like, he's your man of the match, Brooksy. You know what I mean? And like,
Brooks was phenomenal too. He had a really much better game when he was freed up, and we've seen that with a lot of guys.
Could have made it all about himself. Like, he could have been like, I'm back.
I told you,
I mean?
yeah. No, I'm with you. And
I've really come around to him.
And look, any guy that can do that, regardless of their past, is okay for me to have in my SuperCoach side. So I wouldn't have any issue with anyone getting him, especially given it's only 80K from Ilias. If people don't have a more pressing issue, that's a perfectly good trade. I can't see Hastings averaging less than sort of low 60s if he keeps the goal kicking. Are
we kind of at the point now where getting mid-tier players like that, it needs to be an absolute slam dunk at this point of the season? Like, everyone's getting in Papali'is, Clearys for feeders. Is it kind of a waste of use of trades for the week getting in kind of a mid-tier player like that?
It depends if it's plugging a hole. It does feel a little bit of a waste when people are getting ahead a bit more, I think. But if you were downgrading, it's different when you're upgrading. Like, if you're going from Ilias to that, if he was going to kill it, it'd be all right. Does he play round 13? No. Yeah, I don't think there's enough reason to bring him in. He's good, but I don't think he's killing it. You know what I mean? He serves a role. He's a nice backup, but you probably don't need him, I don't think.
Jake, Helam Lukey.
He's not going to kill it every week either, too, are they? It's going to be hard for him to get up every week.
What were you going to say, Jake?
Oh, no, I was just going to sort of say that, I guess, with going from Ilias up to Hastings, Ilias is making no money. He's doing nothing. Hastings, I see him going to 500K upwards. Sort of, I don't know really what that equates to average-wise, but like Grant said, I see him averaging around the 60 mark. So I see him going up to 500, and if that's, like, I know we're still early in the season, so we need players that are going to make money. We can't just be going forking out trying to get Fafita, Papali'i, because in the end we can't afford them all at this point. So we need players that can make money. And I guess Hastings at 380K is one way of doing that. I think you were going to bring up Lukey Woo.
Oh yeah, just before that, they've got the Rabbitohs this week, who are known not for their defense. The Dragons, Manly, and the Cowboys in the next 4 weeks. So pretty good draw, you would say, especially as a goal kicker. So you would assume he gets 8 to 12 points most games just in goal kicking. So, and he's taking lots of hit ups as well, which is really good to see. But yes, Helam Lukey, 340K, I think. He started the season at about that, but then coming off the bench, went down in price, and then he's come out on the weekend, played 80 minutes. 90 points with a try. Looks like better base than Nanai. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I sort of mentioned him before that I was looking at him. If I decide to go Josh King to him, that's what I'm looking at, because I see he can make a lot of cash. I see him as a 550K player. The only thing is he going to be a trap? Is Chod Payton going to throw Gilbert on for 30 minutes on the edge and kind of screw us all? So that's the only thing that's tempting. If he's going to if he's guaranteed 80 minutes every single week, then definitely I can see a trading for him. But it's just, I guess, with a lot of players when we're trading in, it was with Talakai, everyone was like, nah, he'd be gone in 2 weeks. Look at him now. I guess Lukey could be the same thing, but we don't know.
Yeah. I think those are the risks we're going to have to take this year, boys. I mean, if you have a look at it, the downgrade options are pretty dire. And Tim made a good point just before. If you're downgrading to Hastings to clear up money for something else, then it actually does make, those sort of trades make a lot more sense. But there's so many question marks around every guy coming in. Lukey right now, Todd Payton, who knows what he's going to do? He can't even seem to make up his own mind. I did some stats before the season, and Lukey's base power is much better than Nanai's. Nanai's a try scorer. He's an attacking stats guy, and you want those guys anyway. But I had Lukey in my final team until about 10 minutes before kickoff, when Nanai was the late switch in and Lukey got dropped, and I just thought I'll take the starting guy, and that worked at the time. That's a great point, Jake, on Talakai as well. It's a real challenge this year to work out where we're going to get our money and get our cash from, and maybe this is a year where you just got to take some of those risks on and see what happens.
100%. Let's move on to our mistake of the week.
Got him! Why did he do that? Unbelievable!
Do you know what that's from?
Oh.
from the West Indies-Pakistan game. I think there was an over to go. They just need to block it out. 1 wicket in hand. And he tried to – all the field was in, and he just tried to hit it over the top, and he got bowled. Pretty funny. So this segment is what did we do wrong this week and how are we going to correct it this week? So I'll kick it off. Played 2 below 2. I was so confident he was going to go 80+ when I could have just played the safe option, put the reserve on Randall or Tuolangi, and that would have had me 20 to 40 points up the ladder. So this week, I'm shoring up my center wing, making sure I don't have to play a 2 below 2. Jake, how about you?
I don't know why, but I should have looped David Fafita last week.
I did see that.
Because I was out on Saturday, so I didn't really concentrate on because the first game was the Titans barely. He had 100. I didn't really go and look at how many offloads he had. And what I would have done was have taken Coates out and put Viliami. Would have got Coates anyway, but yeah. I mean, I should have. In theory, hindsight, I should have done that. But I don't think I'll be captain bloody Tedesco again this week. Yeah, surely can't. Sure.
So that's what you're doing from it, or are you just taking out of this? You're not going to go out on Saturdays anymore.
Yeah,
not going to go out on the day your VC plays.
Yeah. Concentrate. Watch what's happening. Maybe.
Grant, how about you?
I had a decent week, but I think if I was going to say sort of what happened last week with Haas being suspended for a week, I ended up playing Max King and Cooler and was left with some options on the bench that I would have preferred to play. Luckily, Cooler got upgraded because he was only on about 21 or something towards full time, and Max King went really well. He got up massive upgrades as well. He was 30 at full time and ended up on 51. And I watched that game, and he did look like he'd scored. Like he looked like he was in everything. I think he's a gun, by the way, boys. In footy, I think he reminds me a bit of how Christian Welch played when he was a little bit younger. But yeah, that's. I just think it's sometimes you got to be careful, and it goes back to what we were saying before about who you trade and where you trade each week, so you're not left with someone in your starting lineup who you don't want to play, and someone sitting outside on your reserves when you can only pick 4 reserves. So that's probably my biggest mistake.
I think with Max King, by the way, he's a nice one just to hold till 13. He's not going to deter in price a lot, and you just play him for 40 to 50 in round 13, which is going to be nice. And hopefully by then there's maybe a few injuries or suspensions and he can make his way to the starting side. If he gets a starting role, he's legit someone you want to probably keep in your side. Question for Grant, which King do you cut first? And I guess that's a nice segue. Josh King first, you reckon?
Yeah, Josh King first. I actually, funnily enough, cut him last week. That's how I got the funds. That's how I got the funds for Cleary last week. So Josh King first. He's getting the minutes, but he is a plodder in terms of his base stats. Like if you look at the 3 weeks before that when he got points, and there was no reason I had to sell him last week besides the fact I wanted Cleary. Like he wasn't a must sell or anything. I don't think he's a must sell now, but his base stats are not great. And he'd gotten a try assist, and a try in consecutive games to sort of get to sort of 60. So you always got to look at the underlying stats when you're looking at those sort of trades. But yeah, Max King is cheaper and also probably I think more steady at the moment in terms of what he's going to give you.
Very good. And Timmy, your regret of the week?
Just sleeping in on Good Friday.
Yeah, true.
My sleep self told me I still had till 6 p.m. for the game, and I was just having a good old afternoon snooze, and woke up and then looked at the thing. I was like, oh no, fuck, it's 4:30. Looked at my game day, and I could see, Ilias with a minus, Taff with a 0. Not Taff, sorry, Tass, because he wasn't on the field yet. So yeah, Tass was on 0 with about 5 minutes to go, and he came on the field and scored a try, which was a bloody miracle for me. But I also left Momasia on my starting props and wasn't able to get Max King on there. It was just a whole bunch of shenanigans. They were my mistakes in captaining Teddy after not having any form. I think not backing a guy that's got form for a captaincy is pretty risky these days.
Very good. Just one last question before we go into captains and bold predictions. Ewan Aiken, do we reckon his time is coming to an end. He does play that round 13. He plays that round 13 bye, but with players like Fafita and Papali going massive and a lot of mid-tier players like Talakai, you're not willing to sell Talakai, Currans, Murray's. Is he someone that potentially should go on the chopping block?
I think sometimes you've got to cut a guy that is doing their job when you need someone else. When you're just looking at your side, and if you've got a pretty good side and there's not a bunch of duds in there, you have to kind of look at it. For me, I'm like, it was Kikau or Aiken, and they're both playing 13, which is doing my head in. For me, Kikau's got a big BE. I just feel if he drops cash and I end up feeling like he's done a crap job and then he gets back down to his mid 400s or something, I might have the shits. Whereas I think Ewan Aiken can hold his value a bit better and still put out like 50s, 60s without looking like he's done a great deal.
Yeah.
Whereas Kikau either does like 90s or 50s. So I think you can sell Aiken because he's not really lighting it up. He's just doing like 50s. He had that 1 week of the 90. But you could sell him. But for me, I think if I've got Kikau, I think it's Kikau's more a sell. But I'm really going to have to sit at the shine for a while with that one, I think.
All right, on to captain options this week.
By your powers combined, I am Captain Planet. Captain Planet, he's our hero. Gonna take pollution down to zero.
Righto, captain choices, lads. I'll start with you, Jake. You got a bit of a smirk on your face. So.
Oh, you've put hard work into these sounds, haven't you?
I have.
You're loving it. You are loving it.
Yep.
Captains. Well, I think Cleary's probably going to be either my captain or vice captain. I really haven't decided yet. He's got to be one of those. If he's captain, it'll be Dave Fafita as vice captain. If he's not, though, it'll probably be Pappenhausen. But I am nervous about that ankle, so I probably would prefer. I'd probably lean towards Captain Cleary, to be honest, because if Pappenhausen's laid out, then I'm kind of going to be screwed. I know Teddy plays the same day just before, so we probably should know before that. But I probably don't want Captain Teddy, so Cleary.
Very good. Timmy, I'll be back in a sec.
If I do find the way to get Cleary in without making my team too ridiculous, like I can get rid of people, but if I'm just going to bring in two nuffs, it feels pretty weird. So I might end up holding off and going Cody Walker instead of Cleary, but that's going to need some shrine praying as well because it's a big, bold move. If I brought in Cody, I'd be tempted to do it just because it's pottish and it's against the Tigers. I'm a bit off the Melbourne game just because I feel like the Melbourne and the Storm for some reason match up well, kind of like Melbourne and the Raiders kind of do. Warriors. What did I say? What did I call them? The Storm.
The Melbourne and the Storm.
Yeah. That happens. You get that.
No, yeah,
I'm just getting a phone call coming through, and I don't know what it is. It's weirding me out. That's why I'm a bit like, oh, what's going on? Trying to look at my thing. But I also, Fafita looks juicy too. Oh, there's so many like nice VCs as well, like Stags, if you own Stags against the Dogs. But as you said, Stags has been killing it against good sides and then putting his hands in his pockets for the easy side. So, captaincy's a crazy one this week. What are you doing, Grant? I think I'm just going to do whatever you do.
We've gone on for that long.
Yeah, he did. He had he got weirded out by a phone call. So things happened. We were moving and shaking while you were gone, mate. Don't worry. This week, like when I looked at the draw this morning, you've got Hines playing an early game against Manly, which would be a good VC opportunity. Timmy, you touched on a couple of the others for Feeder, Stags, those guys. I don't know if there's anyone from the Bunnies that I would want to VC at the moment. I don't think I'd VC Murray if I owned him.
Especially with the way the Tigers went last week, we don't know what kind of side's going to show up.
Yeah, I'd find it hard for them to. I find it hard to believe that they'd back up like that again. But it's not like Souths have been phenomenal anyway. I mean, they beat the Dragons 24-12 2 weeks ago. They were pretty good this week against the Dogs, but again, I don't think that it's more that they don't have the options. You know, like I don't think Walker's in good enough form to captain, so he'd be a decent VC option maybe. Moses, I think, would be a good captaincy or VC option because he plays at the right time this week for both. And then you've obviously, I mean, I can't go past Cleary personally. That's probably who I'm going to captain. I can't trust Pap's ankle, and I don't like captaining anyone with a leg injury that goes into a game with any leg injury, even if it's just a cork. I always find that those injuries are the highest rate of recurring, maybe with shoulders as well. And is the game big enough for Munster to treat it as a big game? I don't know. Probably. I mean, the Anzac games are always quite passionate, and Munster has shown this year that he keeps scoring in the big games, and he keeps going quiet in the quiet games. But I don't know. It just doesn't have the same appeal.
Munster feels
to me.
like a risky captain, even though he's scoring well. I think because he doesn't have kicking, there's those other guys that have got the kicking, and because he is in that side with Pappy, he seems like a hard option. But he might.
And the other thing is, from back in the day, something that I always used to try and avoid was captaining in the Monday night game. Just a shitty time for teams to play, and a tough time for people for players to get up and be sort of excited that Monday night game. And they play at 7:00 on Monday, whereas I can have Cleary at 4:00 against the Raiders at home in the sunshine in Penrith on Sunday.
Blue bet, yeah.
You reckon that may have came into effect for Para? Had a bit of the Monday-itis. You want to go to work?
Maybe. I'll tell you what, the Tigers didn't.
That's definitely a thing for most teams, but I think Melbourne have definitely got up for this game most years. Last year, Tommy scored 200 against the Sharks on a Monday night when that game got postponed. So I think it really depends what teams, because from Thursday to Monday, it is a long wait. So teams might actually, one team might switch off when the other team doesn't. I think, it's quite a tough one. What I'm doing is VC Hines, as you said, PointsBet Stadium. He scored well there every week. I think he scored a 45 there once at worst.
In the pouring rain, I believe it was absolutely point. And it was windy, he couldn't kick, and he still pulled out 45. Like, he's a freak.
Which would have been a 70 had he kicked it 100%. So I think I'm going to VC him. I was considering straight captaining him, but I'm not sure how them and Manly are kind of going to match up, whether it's going to be a close one or...
How much would you loop this week, though? What's your amount to loop?
It's tough because Cleary against the Raiders is going to be my captain otherwise, or it might be... Actually, if I VC Hines, I can't do Pappenhausen. So I
Didn't you say you had Taff, though? Can't he be your fullback? Can't Hines be your fullback?
But if Hines is my VC and I want to captain Cleary, I've kind of got to have... See, that is another issue you come into, but it's also good because I can VC Hines now. If he was in my halfback position, I couldn't do that. So I really like that matchup this week. So, yeah.
That is nice. That's a nice thing of having that Cleary thing where you can swap it around to maximise the VCs and Cs of them. That's cool. I'm not doing it. I'm staying off TAFE because I want him, but I just can't have him and Cleary. I don't have the space.
62 against the Bulldogs as well is not that flattering, considering he's a fullback and a goal kicker.
For 200K, I'll take it, though, when Buddy Teddy's banging out less than that.
Yep. All right, and bold predictions. I'll start with you, Grant. What's your bold prediction for the week?
My bold prediction this week is that I think David Fafita is going to go big again against the Cowboys. I think he's going to go 120 plus. That's my bold prediction this week.
I like it. When Hads was on last time, that was his exact bold prediction with 2 tries.
There you go. I'll go you one better. I'll go 1 try, 1 assist. There you go. I'll go for accuracy.
Jake.
I'm gonna say Teddy will finally score a ton this week.
Yeah,
because I won't.
I see that happening.
And I'm gonna say Cleary will score a ton as well. I'm gonna say there's gonna be a 2-point field goal. I'm going to say it's Adam Reynolds against the Dogs.
I'm going to go Blake Taff under 25. Blake Taff and Cody Walker for a combined total of under 50.
Wow.
I'll go Fafita and Cleary. See, I'm seeing a lot of people get Cleary in this week, and I absolutely hate it. I hate that people are moving heaven and earth to get him in when...
It would have been better for you if he scored 100 or 99 last week, even though you captained him, even though it would have been way better. People could have still stayed off him.
It's the same issue I had earlier in the year with Harry Grant. You know, some people started with him and he was suspended round 1, and I thought it was a great pod move. Lots of people were keen on Reid Marnie, and then because he missed round 3 by like round 4 or 5, he was showing that he was the go-to guy. And
How
people
annoying
able
of
to
Reid
get
Marnie. 80-something this weekend too, bloody Reid Marnie.
He played like 65 minutes, though, so I feel like that's nothing to be worried about. How good were the hookers this week? Jesus. And, yeah, Timmy, your bold prediction. Did I say mine? Yeah, I hated how Cleary is getting so traded in this week, so I feel like people are going to be relying on him for another 150. I see him scoring 100, but probably like 103 maybe even 92.
So 92 or 103.
Lock that in, Savs.
Lock it in.
What about 92 and you update to 103? Maybe that's your calling, Savs.
I've been getting a lot of the live scores right, and then they update to higher than that. So, yeah, let's go 92, and then he updates to 103. I don't know what weird. That would be Timmy.
I'm going to do Cody Walker for 99. And that's all.
Okay, very good. If you nail that, that'll be awesome. Thanks for coming on, Grant. It's been, 4, 5, 6 years since you come on, and we should have had you on way more than that because you've done a great job filling in. You're like Talakai playing in the centres.
Thanks, mate. That's a heady compliment. I'm not sure I'm that good, but I'm happy to jump on. Happy to jump on every so often with you boys. It's good fun, and you guys give good information out for people that maybe are a bit time poor and they can just listen to this instead. So I love supporting the SuperCoach community, and thanks for having me. More importantly.
Thank you. And thank you, Tim and Jake, for coming on. And we didn't answer questions today because we're at 1 hour and 7 minutes now. So we'll answer your questions throughout the day, tomorrow or the day after. So cheers for jumping on the live stream and joining in. And we're out. Cheers.
Guys, bench loaded here from the Manly Seagulls.
Good luck.